her sort of, I guess, moral compass is very interesting. I think that she is very much like a live for herself kind of person. You know, she cares about 𝗫𝗏 because she cares about her, and she wants her to be safe because she cares about her. Her moral principle is very much kind of just guided on her own whims and based on, you know, how she personally feels about certain things. If I don't like you, if you're in my way, I won't hesitate to kill you. But the people that she cares about, she cares about.
Welcome to The Story Thinker, a Webtoons and Witcher podcast for superfans with scene-by-scene analysis. Featuring sharp co-hosts for a fuller picture, we dive deep into character psychology, relationships, and theories. We'd love it if you could like, subscribe, comment, and rate us on all podcast platforms and social media. For bonus content, you can support The Story Thinker on Patreon. Let's begin. Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 130 of Purple Hyacinth. And today we have a special guest. I just realized I did not ask you how to pronounce your name, so please say your name.
It's Tsuki. You can just call me Tsuki.
Tsuki. Okay. So Tsuki is here, and I'm very excited to have Tsuki because Tsuki has a really, really cool YouTube channel called 𝗬𝗂𝗂𝗏𝗀𝗄𝗏 Corner. And she does Purple Hyacinth videos and I Love You videos. And you do the kind of videos that I wish I had the time to do because you probably script them and you have pictures and they're really organized and they're fantastic. And I mean, it's different. We kind of do, panel by panel. We have with other co-hosts, but I love your videos. So everyone check them out.
Thank you.
And Tsuki, would you like to introduce yourself? Let the world know whatever you want them to know.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Tsuki, and as she just said, I run the YouTube channel called 𝗬𝗂𝗂𝗏𝗀𝗄𝗏 Corner. I have a VTuber model that I usually use, and she's a dinosaur princess from the moon. And I just really enjoy webtoons, so it's kind of my favorite thing to talk about on my channel.
Yes, and you also do I Love You, which is one of my other favorite webtoons. I have done, I love it as much as I love on ones that I do a podcast on, but I just can't add more. And there's also, you have content, and 𝗪𝗲𝗋 Chewy also has great I Love You podcast. The field is saturated, but I love it.
I do too. It's something I've been following for years now. I'm pretty sure I started reading it way back when it first came out, so it's kind of a long time passion project for me at this point.
Yeah, wow, that's a while ago. So I guess in terms of Purple Hyacinth, we talked a little bit about how you found it. Now I'm curious, who are your favorite characters?
Okay, so for the main cast, this might not come as a surprise, but I really like Kieran. He's just got such a chiseled jawline, and his eyes are like the ocean, and he's very attractive, handsome man, especially in 𝗪𝗪𝗀𝗻's art style. I also really like Lauren. I really like her kind of fiery nature, and I love her humanity. She's very emotional, but she's so emotional because she cares so much. So big fan of her. As far as the not main cast, I really love Randall. I can't explain it. It's just his grumpy catness is something that I somehow really resonate with. It's like me on Mondays. So I really love him. I think that he's probably one of my favorites from the non-main cast.
That's cool. Yeah. And I have not thought of Randall as that, but I haven't asked that question that often. Okay.
Yeah.
If you could put it into one sentence why you like Purple Hyacinth, what would it be?
I guess this is a phrase that comes to mind a lot when I think about Purple Hyacinth. For me, it's a cinematic masterpiece. I'll put it like that. Cinematic masterpiece with a very interesting exploration on the topic of humanity.
Okay, I love it. Yeah, I happen to think I agree. It's one of the most skillfully, I think, drawn and lit episodes. And I'm not an artist, so I don't know if I'm so qualified to comment on that, but their lighting is amazing, and they're
so beautiful.
Yeah, and I love their art style too. We always joke okay, I would say it's not appropriate, but this is how the fandom is. We talk about how Kieran's behind is very flat, right? Whether in the fandom, I don't know if you're on Discord, but it's a massive debate. But this is just how soap draws them. They're very willowy. They're elegant, stretched out like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love the art style so much. They've both done such a great job with the story itself, but then soap's art just brings it to life in such a vivid way. It's really great. I love the art so much.
Yeah. All right, so let's get started into episode 130. This is a 𝗲𝗯𝗀𝗃 episode, which actually want to point out, we have our other, one of our co-hosts who is a huge fan of 𝗲𝗯𝗀𝗃. So she really wants to be on this episode. And I was like, the timing didn't work out. So I was like, you know what? We'll do another one, just you, a bonus episode for 130. We're gonna do it with you again.
We'll try to do it justice for her.
We're having two versions of these. So we started with the flashback. Just a brief recap. We ended off with 𝗲𝗯𝗀𝗃, Bella and Darcy at the opera house, and Bella kind of corners Darcy. So now we have a flashback and we learned about them, which did you expect to have this?
I wasn't sure if we were going to get the flashback so soon, but I did expect, based on the ending of the previous chapter, that we were going to go at least somewhat in depth into their relationship. Definitely wasn't how I expected it to go, but this was a really interesting chapter for sure.
Yeah. One of the things I feel that 𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗀 does is like we have a lot of unsolved questions, and like every episode is just adds more and more questions. So to get an episode where you finally get some answers,
that's so true. That is so true.
Yeah. So okay, flashback. We have the SNE bar. I wonder what that stands for. I don't think I noticed it the first couple times I saw it. And we have Darcy reading a newspaper. And did you look at the newspaper and be like, oh, what headlines are there? Is it relevant?
Yeah, I did actually. I did actually look at the newspaper. I didn't notice anything super relevant, except until I guess I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but I think it's like one of the last panels that we see Darcy with the newspaper, and you'll see there's a poem by Edgar Allan Poe called The Conqueror Worm, which is a really interesting choice to add into the newspaper, because The Conqueror Worm is a poem that sort of talks about the downfall of man, our fears and hopes, and it's essentially like a bunch of angels watching the play of man and the downfall of man as this like conqueror worm comes in. And I think that's really interesting, just kind of given the societal context of Purple Hyacinth. So I thought that was like a nice little addition in there, like subtle but very interesting choice of poem.
Yeah, I did not notice it because I looked at like the first panel, I didn't see anything relevant, and I just didn't look at the newspaper again afterwards, but
yeah, no, it's a very interesting choice on their parts. Good choice on their part, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like Edgar Allan Poe fits their whole Purple Hyacinth vibe. Like he's very morose and dark and depressing and tragic.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a very kind of grotesque poem in the way that it ends. So I think it really fits the vibe of Purple Hyacinth as well as, again, sort of the societal context with people's like pride and greed and their unwillingness to listen to the masses, sort of like leading to their downfall type of theme.
Yeah. So she's at the bar and we see I think it looks like three men who are sitting at the bar and they're talking and murmuring. One of them is this bearded man is murmuring, this person next to him nods, the other two go away, and then the bearded man drinks. Meanwhile, Darcy is surreptitiously watching. He puts his martini glass, he gets up, buttons his vest, and then he looks behind him at Darcy, and Darcy's like, oh, starts sticking the newspaper in front of her head. That's not so successful. The guy leaves, and lighting is really nice, by the way. It's like hazy, like captures the dust motes. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And now Darcy, peers over at him over the newspaper with her amazing purple eyes. Then she starts going. And one thing I noticed that I was a little bit surprised by, her outfit is a little rustic. It kind of looks a little childlike. It's like very simple, like farmer girl, which I guess Darcy, Bella comments on it later. And it feels a little bit like Darcy's trying to tone down her dress, like make it more like not so rich.
I agree. Yeah, I think that she's trying to kind of blend in this scene. Also, just kind of the way her makeup is usually done. She's usually kind of wearing lipstick. In this one, she seems like she's probably mostly fresh-faced. And yeah, I kind of noticed that about the clothing too. I would assume, again, probably to try to blend in with whatever the kind of like culture is of the area that she's at in this bar. to try to look inconspicuous, I suppose.
Yeah, it still felt a little upper class to me. I don't know, upper class, but like not working class, because it's like the sleeves are very wide and the top is like ornamental and not useful, and it's like that part of it is white, which is not a very practical color. I don't know, it just didn't strike me as like not a poverty outfit, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you're right about that. Like it's definitely not like completely dressed down, but it's not as dressed up as we typically see her, for sure.
So she opens up the door and you can tell she's trying to be surreptitious. She's looking around, and she doesn't see anyone. But then we have the guy from before, the bearded man, and he slams her into the wall and, covering her mouth. So similar to what Darcy did, right? Sorry, what Bella did. But more forceful. Now, and she, kind of struggles to get away, but unsuccessfully. And then he leers at her and he says, "I recognize your pretty face. You're that Darcy bitch." And he looks very, very terrifying.
Yes. Yeah, it's really interesting that he recognizes her. I guess I even though she's from like a prominent family, I guess I didn't necessarily think that she would be like easily recognizable, because I guess like Will is also from a prominent family, but I feel like people don't necessarily like automatically recognize him. So I think that that's, very interesting. Like he's had to like introduce himself to people before. So it's kind of interesting that this random man who we don't really know who he is for sure yet, that he recognizes her.
I'm not sure if he recognizes her because of her noble class. I think it's more like what he says the next time. So she freezes and then he says, "They sent you to spy on me, huh?" I think it's because he knows she's a spy. So I think that they probably got a list of spies and they're like, look out for these people. So
okay.
That's why he would know who she is.
That makes sense. I see. Yeah, that does make sense when you connect it with the fact that I recognize, your pretty face. That is interesting. Yeah.
I mean, she's pretty distinctive. Like, we haven't seen any other character. I mean, just those eyes alone are like very.
Yeah, probably just from like a basic description, he would know who she is. But that is very interesting. If he has a list of people might be spying on him. I
mean, it's I think basic safety, right? It's like these. Yeah. Look out for them. Like, don't let them be around you.
That's really interesting. I kind of wonder who exactly he is. Is he like part of some mafia or something like that?
Yeah, we don't know.
Kind of interesting to I'm curious why she is spying on him and who exactly he is.
I have a feeling he's not really important, and I don't think we're gonna ever see him again. I think it's just like a plot device for us to have this situation with Bella and Darcy.
Yeah.
And to show that she's been spying for 5 years. That's a long time.
I know, yeah. She's got some experience under her belt.
Yeah, she made it that long. And while he says that, you see all the way from up on the roof a shadowy figure watching them. And he's like, "Thought I wouldn't notice." And then you see this, well, we know it's the figure up on the roof, put her hand on her dagger, and we recognize that's the golden viper dagger. And here we see Bella, and she's like, "Who is that interrupting with my mission?" And we don't exactly know who the mission is. What do you think her mission was?
That's such a good question. I assume that she was probably also perhaps spying on this man. I wonder if she was supposed to be tasked with killing him, but she does have her golden viper dagger on her, and we do see her like place her hand on it. So I wonder if she was supposed to assassinate him, but maybe now she feels like it's too public, or she doesn't necessarily want Darcy to see her. Not sure why she kind of hesitates here, but yeah, I'm curious. What do you think her mission might have been?
I don't know, and I don't think it's really relevant to the plot. I think it's just on a mission, and whether it's to spy on him, whether it's to kill him, like she doesn't kill him.
Mostly just kind of set up for the backstory of their relationship. Yeah,
I don't think it relates to the broader plot at all.
Yeah, no, that's probably true.
And the guy, meanwhile, is like manhandling her. There's 2 other people coming from behind him, and he says, "Too bad they didn't think of sending a more competent one, but I'll do them a service. I'll make sure to get rid of them, get rid of them of the inconvenience. Like, okay. And she is panicking. She, you know, her eyes are wide. She's puffing and puffing. She can't breathe. She is really trying to escape. It looks like she's biting him and pushing her hands and kicking him. Like she's really doing her best to get out, but she's not successful. And we have tap, and you see someone looming over the three figures. And who could it be? And there, and then we see Darcy's perspective. Like he looks really insane, and you know, he gets his knife out. They're all laughing, but then there's a whack, crash. The two guys, well, one guy is on the floor, and the other guy gets punched in the nose. He falls down. The middle guy is like, "What the f?" And then we have Bella, who is just standing there, you know, framed by the lights.
Her power stance.
And, you know, obviously she has her like badass line. Sorry, I try not to curse, but it's interrupting something. And, you know, they're just on the floor in front of her. He turns around, he's like, "Who the hell are you?" And she's like, "Someone you wish you'd never met."
I love that. That's such a good panel.
Yeah, so Bella's character is like this typical, very strong, sarcastic, not scared of anything, you know, 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗀 kind of person. Always very put together.
Yes, yes. She always looks very fabulous in every panel. And this one is no exception.
When we get to later on in the episode, I would love to hear your take on like Bella as a person and what she's about. But I guess we'll get to that a little later.
Of course, of course.
And he gets really upset. He rushes at her while Darcy's poking in the background. He tries to stab her. She dodges. She slaps him. Probably nothing for him to get slapped. It's like just the meaning.
He has so much like shocked Pikachu face energy in that panel.
Yeah, you could tell, like, I think he would be like, he's like, okay, you could stab me, you could kick me, like, but like slapping me, that's just
getting slapped around.
He has the hand marks over here. I think he's he's embarrassed that he got slapped. And he's like, "How dare you?" And she slaps him again on the other cheek because she is just spiteful like that.
She just is so clearly more competent than him when it comes to combat, and it's like child's play for her.
Right, that's what's so embarrassing about it, right? Like if she it would show she is taking him seriously, and she like has to dispatch the threat. She's just slapping him, just like you're not a threat to me. Yeah, we have a chibi face, and he's like, "I'll kill you," and then she's like, "Hey, language!" Kicks him in the butt, which once again, more embarrassment, more shame. Crashes down. He's in an embarrassing position. I'm sure he's mortified. And he tells us, like, and she's, "Get up, you useless idiots." And they all grab knives, and then they all rush at her. And she's like, "So much talk and so little entertainment." And she kicks one, dodges the other, grabs the third, and somehow they're all just flying away from her and crashing on various places. And Darcy's just watching, and she's like flabbergasted.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, she looks very, very shocked. Seems like she kind of can't believe her eyes.
Yeah, Bella is clearly highly proficient in, like you said, combat. And turns around and watches, and then, you know, she's now finally taking a look at Bella. Bella looks down at her, and first she looks at her like neck, shoulders, and then she looks up and sees Darcy. And then she just turns around and leaves. Doesn't say a thing.
Nope. Yep, that's very interesting. I think it's very interesting that she spares her. I guess I often think of Bella as like a bit ruthless. Like obviously she can be very caring, but I was actually kind of surprised that she chose to spare her. It kind of actually reminds me a little bit of the moment that Lauren and Kieran met, where it's like they look into each other's eyes for a moment, and then, you know, Kieran hesitates and he doesn't kill her. Kind of reminds me a little bit of that first moment between them two, where they look at each other for a moment and then Bella decides not to kill Darcy.
Right. I don't think she ever wanted, like, Kieran was actually trying to kill Lauren when they met. Here, I think, yeah, she's a random person on the street. Like, I don't think she's intending to kill random people, but the fact that she went in to save her, I think, is more of the surprise moment.
Yeah, no,
Also,
that is very interesting.
and she didn't want that person to get picked on. Like, she was saving an innocent person, or what appears to be an innocent person from what she saw. Like, you don't ever know necessarily, but so I mean, I think that speaks to Bella. I know in the beginning we were definitely not sure if she has a heart, you know, what the morality, but I think just you can see that she does.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, and Darcy is like, wait, thank you, wait, and she gets up, she says wait, and Bella does stop, and Darcy says wait again, and she's like, what do you want? She's annoyed. It was incredible. It's like, I know. Yeah, which I like that. I'm not a fan of false humility. I'm like, yeah, you're a great fighter. Like, yes, that's true.
Yeah, I love Bella's attitude. I like that she kind of owns herself. She knows that she's very skilled, and she's not afraid to just come out and say it. I like that about her a lot as a character, and I think that their exchange is really interesting. I think this is like their first meeting, and I feel like maybe the reason that it feels perhaps different to Bella is that 𝗫𝗫's like first response is to thank her, and those are words that Bella likely hasn't ever heard, or if she has, she likely has not heard them in a very long time, especially combined with like such a sincere show of gratitude. I think that's kind of likely a change of pace for her as someone who is looked at as like so feared.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure it is, and she probably doesn't show that, but yeah, that may be the reason that she gives her even like the time of day.
Yeah.
And she starts walking away again, but Darcy just kind of like runs backwards. She's like, teach me, please. And Bella does stop, and she turns around and she like laughs at her. She's like, what? And Darcy's like, teach me to defend myself just like you did. And she has this grin on her face, like she's excited. She is eager to gain those skills. Which is good. And Bella just laughs, and she's like, you're funny, princess. It would take you years of practice. Would you be ready to put in the work, my lady? And she's like, yes. And she's like, well, then find yourself another mentor. I'm sure anyone will agree to teach you if your rich parents throw in their money. And she's like, how do you know I'm a lady? Which obviously, like, Bella had like a chip on her shoulder, right? She doesn't seem to like wealthy people that much.
Yeah.
Like an automatically disparaging statement. And she's like, oh, come on. You may be dressed modestly, but your hands are as smooth as a newborn's. Your hair looks healthy and shiny, like it's been fed the best product since birth. She brushes her hair, which of course is not just a demonstrated moment of like, oh, look, your hair is shiny. It's like a little bit, I think, meant to / intimidate with how intimate it is. A romantic move, obviously, for the shippers out there, that's what it's for. But it's an intimidating move. It's a power move when you do that to someone that no at all. Say, I can touch you.
Nope, I think that's very true. Definitely kind of like, yeah, an intimidating move, just like you said. Kind of setting the precedent, I guess. Obviously not for their whole relationship, but kind of for how she feels in this moment, putting her in her place a little bit.
Yeah, do you think she's also attracted to her at this point already?
I think so. I think like just from the first moment that she looked at her face, I feel like probably she was attracted to her.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. And yeah, the next thing she does is also like just stepping the intimacy even further, both with her actions and her words. She leans in, like sniffs her shoulder, and like, you smell like a dessert, an expensive one, which is totally sexually charged. Like, not even trying to hide it. Yep,
just the way that she's like leaning close to her collarbones. Definitely feels, yeah, very intimate, very sexually charged, for sure.
Yeah, Bella knows how to put on a show. Pull her weight around.
Definitely.
And she leans back now. She's like, you're not from Great Chapel. And Darcy, to her credit, is not flummoxed by this. She just has that same grin on her face, and she's just fair enough. I've been exposed, but I was serious. So that's credit to Darcy. You know, she's someone, as we saw like in recent episodes, she keeps calm in situations.
Yeah, no, I actually really like Darcy's just kind of general attitude and the persona around her. She just seems very like cool, calm, collected, unfazed. It was actually kind of a stark contrast to see. I mean, obviously it's completely reasonable why she would react that way, but to see her so panicked in the beginning of this chapter, compared to how she's usually just, you know, cool as a cucumber.
Yeah. And then Bella leans in, and we have even more, you know, sexually charged moments because they're touching. And she does that move again. It's like she pins her against the wall with her hand against her mouth. Like, this poor girl can't catch a break. And with her hand still covering her, and then we have that same, you know, close up, just like we had last episode. And she says, first, you can either use your free hand to break the opponent's nose or gouge their eyes. She's like, or, and then we come back to the present where Bella has just done this move to Darcy, and we have present action, but past words. And Bella is saying, push their body away from you as much as possible. You see Bella, Darcy kick her. Lift up your arm, turn your torso 90 degrees, swing down your elbow on their arm, and Darcy's doing that. Lock their arm on your chest, grab their head and slam it against the wall. And she is doing that in real life. There we have Darcy, who now has Bella pinned against the wall. That was a very, very masterful use of past to present juxtaposition.
No, I think that was a really great way to transition from past to present. And I also just kind of like the sort of dynamic shift here, where it's like, you know, Bella's so clearly I don't want to say, like, for lack of a better term, like superior in terms of, I guess, combats in the past, but now it's like they're equals, which is a really kind of interesting dynamic shift.
Yeah, I don't know if we can derive necessarily that they're equals, because I'm sure Bella has more opportunity to use combat in daily life than Darcy. Plus, the situation, Bella is probably not fighting back.
Yeah, no, not necessarily equals like in combat, but I guess like maybe they see each other more as equals now, whereas maybe initially Bella was a little bit like just like a rich girl.
Yeah, no, definitely more equal than before. Like Bella, I think, is exceptional, so it would just be understandable if Darcy was like normal level, you know.
Yeah.
Grown a lot. So yeah, so she has that, and then she releases her, and Bella's like, "Pulling the tricks I taught you on me, bold of you, Nira." And she says, "You'd be disappointed if I didn't. What are you doing here?" And then Bella, of course, doesn't answer her question. She's like, "What are you doing with Redcliff?" And sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say that's it's really interesting because it seems like Bella is very concerned about Redcliff. It kind of makes me wonder, I mean, we've seen part of what he's capable of, but it just makes me wonder, what else does she know that maybe we don't know about him? Because she seems very concerned that Nayra is like spending any amount of time at all with Redcliff. It's very interesting.
I think it's because Redcliff threatened Bella with their relationship and basically said, like, I have to get rid of that girl if she's distracting you too much. So I think that she's just worried that anytime he sees her, he'll want to get rid of her. I think, you know, honestly, this may just be a part of her. It may be like what you said, like maybe she knows something else. It may just be that this is her emotional vulnerability, where she is so afraid for Darcy. She doesn't want anything to happen to her. So she's like, stay away from him.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think there's, definitely that protective element there for sure.
And she says, so that's what this is about. You finally stop ignoring me because of him, which I think that statement shows us that Darcy knows that the reason she started ignoring her to begin with was because of him.
Yeah, definitely. She does seem to be, you know, aware of that fact. Yeah, kind of seems like their relationship maybe ended in a little bit of like a it's not you, it's me, like I'm doing this to protect you type of thing.
Yeah, I don't know, because she seems very bitter about it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame her. I feel like Darcy probably feels like, you know, maybe a bit like Lauren, where she wants to feel independent and like she can hold her own. And doesn't necessarily want to be kept out of harm's way. I mean, it's tough to infer that. Just we don't have like enough information, but just based on what we've seen of Darcy's character, I feel like if that were the reason for them to break up or stop speaking, I think that she probably would be somewhat offended by that, because she does seem like a very independent person.
Right. Yeah. I think also there's the slight element of, because she, even though yes, we know she's a spy and I'm sure she, puts herself at risk, there is an element of her life that she doesn't understand Bella and her life and how dangerous maybe people in that life are. So, she can be just very upset with Bella, like, why did you leave me? And she may not be able to understand how scared Bella is and why she's so scared.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It kind of reminds me of when Lauren wanted to like go to the underground with Kieran, and Kieran's like, no, absolutely not. You don't understand. Like there's definitely an elements of their lifestyles that only they can really understand. That yeah, I think it would be hard for someone in an outside perspective to kind of understand the extent of how the Phantom Scythe works and all of the inner workings of that system.
Oh, yep. And Bella is just like, stay away from him. She's emphatic. She's starting to look a little panicked, which usually Bella is very stoic, or just like not stoic. Usually she's laughing and sarcastic. People like how she really feels, but now she really is. And she says, why? And Bella's like, just stay the F away from him. And she's yelling, leaning forward. So she's panicking.
Yeah, and it's clear that Darcy wants to understand, but doesn't understand.
Yep. And Bella's not really going to give more answers. Whether it's out of loyalty to Redcliff, whether it's just being unable to be emotionally intimate with Darcy and tell her, I care about you. Maybe she's just not able to do that. But she's not willing to talk more. Which I guess I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Like on her. Well, we do talk more a little bit about the relationship with Redcliff a little later. So I guess, okay, we can save it a little bit. I'm curious your thoughts about the relationship.
Sure.
So Darcy asks her, why are you here tonight? Why are you so scared? And Bella just puts her head in her hands. Is like, Nira, please, just listen to me and don't ask questions. Which once again, I'm like surprised that she's so emotionally distraught and like she's out of control. She can't put on that veneer of sarcasm anymore.
Yep, this is a person that she cares about a lot, and I think because of that, whether consciously or subconsciously, she does drop her guard.
Yep. And Darcy steps forward and is like, not when you're doing your very best to disappear, right? She's trying to track her down. And this is the time when I can speak with you. And she goes, keeps going further until Bella is backed into the wall. And she says, Bella's like, Nira. And then suddenly we have a very surprising thing. You have like focusing on Bella's surprised eyes because Nira is hugging her. So shocked. Her first look is shock. And, you see Darcy tighten her arms around her shoulders. And then Bella reciprocates. She, brings her arms up and wraps them around Darcy, and then she shuts her eyes. And that expression on her face is so like the look of someone who never has let themselves be hugged and never has let themselves untense and like accept love from someone.
Yeah, there's this very like almost like a look of sorrowful longing almost. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's just right. I thought I saw it as like relief, but yeah, you're right. Longing is probably a better way of looking at it, or both.
Yeah, no, I think like relief probably. There's probably like quite a cocktail of emotions going on there. But yeah, there definitely seems to be this like this hug is just so great for her.
Yeah, it's totally different from the Bella that we've seen before. Okay. And yeah, it's amazingly like intimate and honest, and their subsequent conversation is even more honest. We have I think Bella drops her hands, looks like, and Darcy asks her, why don't you leave him? I know he's the reason you're avoiding me. You left me 2 years ago because of him. And then Bella says, you know, the same thing that she had said earlier. She says, he gave me my entire life, got me out of the hellhole I was born in. I owe him everything. And, you know, that's like a very powerful thing. I think, so here I am curious about your, okay, fine, let's finish these panels because there's,
Sure.
And Darcy's like, but you hate him, I know you do. And Bella pushes her away. It's like, Nira, stop, please stop. And she's like, she can't look at her in the face. Her eyes are still closed. She says, you and I, it was over a long time ago and it will stay that way. And Darcy says, everything you become, you owe it to yourself. And you owe it to yourself to walk away from someone like him. And she's like, why are you so scared? And Bella says, you wouldn't understand. Don't make this more difficult. And okay, so let's finish the panel. And I want to to talk about the thing. She says, I came to warn you, stay away from Redcliff at all costs. She pushes her away, like Darcy is struggling. She doesn't want that. Do not do anything to draw his attention onto. Do not try to get close to me again. Stay away or you'll regret it. Stay away from me. And then she walks away and Darcy is left to look at her, you know, going down the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, what are your thoughts on Bella's relationship with Redcliff?
It's really interesting. I think, like she says, she feels indebted to him. I think there's probably also an element of fear there. I think that she is afraid of what he's capable of when it comes to her relationship, you know, with Darcy. I would assume that there's probably a lot that she, you know, hasn't explicitly said to Ňira, maybe because it's a bit of like a, you know, the less you know, the safer you are type of deal. But yeah, I think again, you know, she came from 𝗏𝗏𝗄𝗏, you know, as she lived a harsh life. And I think, you know, now that she's out of that situation, even though, you know, the phrase that comes to mind that they've used in the webtoon is, you know, a bloody cage is still a cage. So even though that may be true, you know, it's preferable to the life she was living before, where she kind of didn't really have a purpose. She was just aimlessly selling matches on the streets, cold and alone. So yeah, I think it probably is. I mean, you know, we see this dynamic in real life relationships too, where, you know, she feels like she owes him something. And I think that that's why it's so hard for her to leave him, even though, you know, she does not like him and probably and generally doesn't really have any qualms about like killing other people that she doesn't like. With him, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I think that like it shows kind of like a manipulative, abusive relationship so well, because it's not like her father's abuse was very flat out. It was like he hit her, he yelled at her, like he was struggling. He didn't give her anything, right? So she didn't have problems killing him, or, you know, looks like she was about to kill him. But Redcliff, it's a little bit more complicated. He gave her a lot, right? Like you said, he rescued her. He gave her like food, clothing, shelter, you know, an interesting job, right? I mean, that's the part, like with circus is a fun job, right? But then he's also very controlling and manipulative, and, you know, doesn't let her have her own life. So it's not like it's just bad things coming from him. It's like a mix of good and bad. And he, in many ways, has become like a father figure for her. And, you know, sometimes, you know, you just love your family because they're your family, and whether or not they treat you well. But it's a mix, right? He's not fully abusive to her, right? He's done so much for her. So it's very like there are a lot of relationships in real life where it's not like horrible all the time. It's
exactly.
Sometimes it's good, and sometimes it's negative, and sometimes you're just not sure. So I think that is very realistic.
No, yeah, I agree. I think that this is actually portrayed so well. I think it kind of, I mean, for her, it's like he literally saved her life, you know, not in the literal sense, but like, I don't think that she ever felt alive before, you know, she became what she is now. And I mean, in a sense, there probably is still like a bit of lifelessness there, because she's not able to pursue, like, you know, love, for example. But I think, you know, up until she met Redcliff, she was probably kind of just existing in this vacuum of, like, you know, like almost like a limbo You know, we're just here in limbo. Nothing's happening in life. She didn't really have a purpose or a direction in life. And now I think she does have a purpose. However much she believes or doesn't believe in it, it's still a purpose. Whereas before this, you know, she was just kind of existing and not really living. So I think in a lot of ways to her, he literally saved her life, which obviously if that happened to you in the real world, you would feel very indebted to that person. And it probably would be very difficult for you to like argue with them. You'd probably feel very guilty if you ever wanted to oppose them because that person saved your life. So it's a very realistic dynamic. I think they've done a really good job of portraying that dynamic.
And I think also this scene does show a little bit what you were saying before, that Bella probably knew something about Redcliff that Darcy doesn't know, because she, you know, she tells her like she really emphasizes stay away from him. So yeah, I mean, it could just be what we saw before, where she fears Redcliff is just going to get away with do away with Darcy because he's a distraction, right? She's a distraction for Bella, but maybe there is something else that we just don't know yet.
Yeah, I'm like very curious to kind of, again, we've talked about how there's so many questions in Purple Hyacinth, but yeah, I'm very kind of curious to find out a bit more about him, because again, she's very adamant about this. She's stay away from him at all costs. I'm sorry, I can't explain this to you. You're just gonna have to trust me and stay away from him. So yeah, it really feels like, you know, that's like the more you know, the less you know, the better for you type of thing, where I feel like she feels like even just saying this information to a person that she trusts could put that person in harm's way.
Yeah, well, we'll probably learn more about it later.
I
mean, it's all the good drama, their interaction, right? It's like, you know, she has to say no to the person she loves. She's being, you know, Darcy's being rejected. It's high drama, it's emotional, all that.
Yeah, no, this was such a great scene, as such a great moment of humanity for Bella, where it's like she is allowing herself this one moment of humanity before, you know, she stops the hug and then the mask goes back on and then it's all.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, because I'm still a little conflicted. Like, I don't know how moral Bella is. Even now when she shows emotions, they're all centered around like her selfish desires. Like they're not about altruism, like general moral principles. It's all about her. So I am curious to hear what your thoughts are on Bella and morals or emotions.
Her sort of, I guess, moral compass is very interesting. I think that she is very much like a live for herself kind of person. You know, she cares about 𝗫𝗏 because she cares about her, and she wants her to be safe because she cares about her. And I think, yeah, I think that her moral principle is very much kind of just guided on her own whims and based on, you know, how she personally feels about certain things. I don't know if she has like as clear of a moral compass as someone like Kieran. I think that she kind of is just like, if I don't like you, if you're in my way, I won't hesitate to kill you. But the people that she cares about, she cares about, and she will do everything in her power to keep them safe. And I feel like 𝗫𝗏 is probably especially special to her because I mean, I get the sense that she doesn't have many people that she cares about genuinely. I mean, she's got kind of like a friendship going on with Kieran, I guess. They're old pals, but as far as actual human caring, I don't really think that she has that type of bond with anybody but 𝗫𝗏, and that's probably why this bond is so significant to her, kind of in the same way. I've spoken about this before on my channel, but sort of in the same way that Lauren and Kieran are like each other's humanity, I think maybe for Bella, 𝗫𝗏 is her humanity. So
yeah, I agree with you. It doesn't seem like she has other people she's close to.
Yeah, I mean, she's not really the type to let her guard down. So just the fact that she is so vulnerable with 𝗫𝗏, I mean, I think that everybody kind of needs that in life, and she gets that, you know, from 𝗫𝗏. But of course, there's also the desire to protect her. So I think it's actually probably quite difficult for Bella, and that's why she probably does drop the mask for a moment and lets herself just sort of relish in that hug for a minute, hugs her back, but then she says, no, I still need to protect you, so I can't let this linger on too long. But it's clearly very difficult for her to reject that, because it is probably like one of the only relationships she has in her life that is significant and meaningful to her.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough to be so alone.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, she's very alone in life, and I think that that's, you know, very clear in her personality. Like, I can definitely see where her personality developed the way it did, because she is very alone in life, and she is in a line of work, if you can call it that, where, you know, she has to be very cautious about who she does trust. So she probably does not really allow herself to be vulnerable with many people, but at the end of the day, she's still a human. She still has vulnerabilities, and 𝗫𝗏's, I think, the only person who can really understand those to some extent.
Yeah, I was just about to, I was like going to speculate, like, oh, why she like 𝗫𝗏? But then, you know, what we have next, which is a continuance of the flashback, does show us, I think, a little bit of why, because we flash back to that scene where they first met, and it looks like Darcy has just completed the instructions, and, you know, she has her arm there on Bella, and Bella's like, good job, princess, you're feisty, I'll give you that. So pretty sure she likes that. And she goes away, and she's like, wait, that's it? When can I see you again? Already into her.
Yep. Already clear connection.
And she looks at her, and Bella is just going away. She waves and she says, never. But that didn't happen.
Yeah, it actually makes me so curious, like, how did they wind up meeting again? I mean, they clearly had like a very close relationship before, you know, whatever happened with Redcliff, and she decided that it was time to stay away from Darcy. But it really makes me wonder, like, how did they meet again? What made them decide to, you know, I mean, again, Bella seemed very like, you know, you'll never see me again, this is a one-time thing. Makes me very curious what made her change her mind.
Well, I feel like I would suspect that Darcy's work as a spy would probably bring her into some interaction with the same circles that Bella hangs out with.
Yeah, I would think that that's definitely probably a part. Maybe they have like kind of similar targets. I don't know how long like Darcy has been involved with the Queen or how that all came about, but they are kind of like, as far as we know, on opposite sides. So it's kind of interesting. And I wonder if they maybe had like the same targets and kept running into each other, or, you know, what exactly happened between them, what prompted Bella to decide to start caring about 𝗫𝗏, because I'm sure she's been attracted to people before, but what's different about Darcy?
I have this like vision where they keep bumping into each other, and Bella's like, you again? What are you doing here? Why are you stalking me?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, yeah, I'm very interested to, I hope that we get like a little bit more backstory, because I am very interested to see like what made their relationship progress from this point. Because again, Bella just doesn't really seem the type to let someone in. So it's just like a curiosity. I wonder what was so different about Darcy. And again, I think that Darcy just in general is very different from the typical reaction. Again, just in the way that she thanks her. She's not like afraid of her like you might expect. I mean, she just, you know, kicked a bunch of people to the curb right in front of her, right before her eyes.
Yeah.
And her reaction is gratitude.
Right. I think Bella probably gets a lot of disgust and fear and, you know, distant responses, but from Darcy, she got admiration and appreciation.
Yeah, and I mean, like, a lot of times in media, it's a trope where, like, you know, the hero saves the lady with the kid, and the lady, you know, the hero walks up to the lady to like return her purse, and then the lady's like, ah! Like runs away and is afraid of the person who, you know, just saved them. And I'm sure that Bella has probably gotten that reaction before, you know, if she's ever saved someone before, I'm sure that she was probably met with, you know, fear or disdain, because, you know, she's just punched a bunch of, you know, grown men to the curb right in front of her. But again, yeah, instead of reacting with like fear or disdain, 𝗫𝗏 reacts with gratitude, and very sincere gratitude. She wants to see her again. She admires her. She says thank you, which are all things that I think that Bella probably has either never gotten or very, very, very rarely gets. Like, I'm not sure who else in her life would give her like genuine gratitude.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and Darcy being very pretty can hurt.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Darcy being just like really hot probably probably also doesn't hurt, but yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see if we'll get like a bit more information on how their relationship progressed from this point. But I really like their dynamic, and it's nice to see that side of Bella as well.
I think there's also an element that she likes the other. You know, Bella grew up very poor, and she clearly sees this person as rich. I think there's an element of interest in like, how did the other side live? And like, she's so different from me. I think there's some people who really like to understand people who are different than them.
Yeah, I think there's a definite curiosity. I think that that's probably also, you know, relevant to Darcy and her view of Bella as well. Is probably very intriguing to see this, like, you know, gorgeous pink-haired woman drop down from the sky and beat up a bunch of guys, slap them around, and then just, you know, dip out like nothing happened. I'm sure that to Darcy, that was probably, you know, she's lived in proper society. I'm sure that to her, that was probably also very intriguing.
Yeah, right. Where she, you know, is, let's say for Darcy in particular, she's from a rich background, but she's also feisty, you know, like she probably doesn't expect that.
Yeah, like they kind of match each other's energy in a lot of ways. I think both have kind of that feisty persona.
Right.
And I think that they probably both of them were a little bit curious about each other.
Yeah, I guess what do you think that like the end game for their relationship is in the story?
Oh man, the end game in general is really difficult for me to predict for Purple Hyacinth, because I feel like it could just go so many ways. It could absolutely be tragic, or it could be hopeful. For me, Bella is tough. Kieran and Bella are both tough because it's like they're both very much like victims of circumstance. I think intention matters. I do think that the circumstances in which they grew up and like the society that they're growing up in is not our society. This is a different society. So I think it's, you know, relevant to judge morally based on the standards of that like society. Like I think it's important to account for the fact that, you know, we're not living in modern society. This is a different society. And they have different circumstances going on within that society. So it's really, I mean, personally for me, I would love an ending where there's some type of redemption for these characters. I don't know about Bella because I think she's been a little bit more ruthless. I think she shows less remorse in the killings that she has committed. So for her, I'm not 100% sure. But I will say for Kieran, I do like to think that, you know, intention matters. The fact that he feels guilt matters. And I like to hope that at least for him, there will be some redemption. But as far as 𝗫𝗏 and Bella, oh gosh, I mean, I feel like this could be like a tragic end for them. It's really hard to say. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's possible that at some point maybe Bella will sacrifice herself for 𝗫𝗏. It's really hard to predict, though. What do you think? I'm curious.
You know, I'm definitely with you on the whole like atonement thing. As much as we've been seeing Bella's human side and we see now that she has emotions, I'm still not like a fan of her because she doesn't have remorse for all the murders.
Yeah.
That we can tell at least. And like Kieran's the opposite. Kieran like hates himself and he is, you know, just chastising himself every single day for what he's done. And Bella is just much more flippant. And I wouldn't cry if something happened to her. Sorry, all.
Yeah, no, I think I exactly, I agree. I think it's, again, I think intention matters. And the fact that Bella doesn't really seem to feel like any significant guilt or remorse for the things that she does and kind of lives like based on her own moral principles. Like she's very like, if it suits me, then then it's great. If it doesn't suit me and it's inconvenient, then I'm not interested in it. And yeah, I think that she kind of has the same attitude towards killings, you know, if it's, she'll do it if it's convenient, if it feels necessary, but she doesn't feel any like particular type of way about killing versus not killing. And I think that that's like a significant factor to think about when judging a character's morality, which is why I feel like her ending might not be the happiest. And I mean, I agree. It's very nice to see her human side. I really like the way that she interacts with 𝗫𝗏, but I don't necessarily think that she's redeemable per se, because she's only shown care towards this one person, whereas you know, for Kieran, he's really only killing when necessary. He's kind of been forced into this life. We don't know what would happen if he stopped. Most presumably he would get killed, or if he has people, you know, that could put Lauren in danger. Like, there's so many factors as to why I think Kieran has to keep doing what he's doing, and why he feels the need to keep doing what he's doing. And so I think that the way I judge him morally is a bit different from the way I judge Bella morally. But it does make me sad for Darcy, because I feel like their ending might not be a happy one, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm curious. I don't know, you know, I'm in general an optimist, so I'm always hoping for a positive ending in general for Hyacinth, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's tough to say. Yeah, I really can't predict their ending, but I really do hope that Lauren and Kieran at least get a happy one.
Amen. I will be very sad if that doesn't happen. I'll probably just like blank it out of my mind and invent my own happy ending.
Yeah, no, yeah, we will have to like start writing fanfics if Lauren and Kieran don't get a happy ending. But I mean, it's really tough to predict like what Soph and F are going to wind up doing with the ending of the series. I could really see it going either way, but the optimist in me is hoping that, you know, we get that happy ending. Or at least, you know, even if Bella doesn't necessarily like, you know, die, it doesn't have to necessarily be like that type of tragedy, but I hope that there's just like at least a satisfying end for people. Maybe that means that Bella and Darcy go their separate ways and don't wind up together necessarily, but doesn't necessarily mean that either of them has to die. So
jail for the rest of her life.
Yeah, I mean, maybe some other type of punishment. Maybe. I don't necessarily think it needs to be in the form of like Bella dying or Darcy dying. Yeah. But yeah, it's difficult to predict.
Yeah. I guess for the last question, unless you have anything else to say, what was your favorite panel for this episode? It's a new thing I started asking.
I think probably my favorite panel, I don't know if I can pick just one. I think that my favorite kind of sequence is the hug. I think just like that moment of Bella being like, oh my gosh, okay, this is happening. And then, you know, she reciprocates for just one moment. I guess maybe the panel of her face where she has that kind of look of longing. Like this is such an incredibly wonderful feeling for her, but she knows that it's like a fleeting moment in time. It can't last forever. And then she drops her hands. I think that's kind of my favorite sequence. But if I had to choose one panel, I suppose the like look on her face of like knowing this isn't something that can last.
Yeah, that's the panel I would choose too.
Yeah, but trying to enjoy the moment. Yeah, I think that's a really good one. They're so good at just like expressing emotion in the art. Like you can so clearly tell, you know, like it's an emotion where even if you can't necessarily put words to it, like you can understand the feeling. Yeah, I just think that's a really great panel.
Right, and there's so much in it. Like besides for what you said, like I saw the like the letting the defenses down, the relief, and you know it's all there. So yeah, it's an amazing panel.
Yeah, that's a great one.
I guess any other thoughts on the episode as a whole, or anything that you want to say about Purple Hyacinth before we close out?
I don't think so. I guess I would redirect your earlier question to you. Who are your favorite characters? In curiosity.
Obviously, Kieran.
Oh yeah.
Lauren is probably my favorite female character in all of webtoons. I love characters like her. First of all, she's smart. She is determined. She is bold. She is strong-minded. She's independent. She does what she wants. She doesn't let anyone tell her what to do. She is, you know, clever. She's resourceful. She's brave. And she's caring about her friends and her family. I just love her so much. And Kieran also, like Kieran, I would say, like in terms of, let's say, my my romantic tendencies, right? I love people who read books, He's one of the I cannot recall another webtoon character who like loves reading. Maybe I'm just not reading the right webtoons, but like reading is super important to me. So if you read and you've gone up like a million points in my eyes. And then he's a sensitive soul, he's like he's a lover artist type, which I also love, and he's also obviously very capable. And he got that great sense of humor and unflappable, very loyal, very also capable. Like I value that, and a good person and a caring person. And he would be a loving person, which I like that.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I feel like so sympathetic towards Kieran, and like why I want that happy ending for him, because like you said, he is a kind person in unfortunate circumstances. And totally agree about Lauren. I love that she's flawed too. Like I think my favorite part about her is that she is flawed. Like we see her make rash decisions, emotional decisions. But it's nice. It's nice, it's like a breath of fresh air, because I feel like one of the tropes that I dislike that some webtoons like fall into is where like the main characters are like Mary Sue's, like they're too perfect, they're kind and great and everything about them is just great, but there's no human flaw. So I like that Lauren is like, she's so likable, but she's also so human, and kind of the same with Kieran. So. And
I don't know if you've thought about this, but like I've over time understood that there are certain flaws that not only do I tolerate, I probably like them. So like her type of flaw, I like that kind of flaw where like she is rash and like jumps into things and is overly passionate. That's the kind of thing I like. I know it's not good all the time, but I like it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, and I think it's a relatable flaw, like when she sees Sake and she knows she's not supposed to, chase him, but she like chases him anyway. I'm like, that's so relatable, because, if I saw someone that I hated as much as she probably hates Sake too, I might have done the same thing. So I think that, she's very relatable, and I agree. Like it's a flaw, but it's a likable flaw, and I feel like that can be like a difficult balance, because obviously you don't want to give your character a flaw that makes your audience hate them. So I think that they've done a really great job with the characters and making them balanced and like feel human, having enough likable traits but also having flaws. So yeah, I agree. Kieran and Lauren are great.
Yeah, no, it's great. And the characters making mistakes, like in terms of Bella and Darcy, right? I'm sure they've made mistakes with each other, and not each other the best at all times. But that's life. That's how we all are. We make mistakes. We grow.
Exactly. Yep. No one's perfect. Yep. I think that's like the one of the best things about Purple Hyacinth is nobody's perfect, but they're all just navigating life and doing the best they possibly can given the circumstances.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
And thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, and everyone please check out Tsuki's Corner. It is a great channel, so please check it out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to my current patrons: Susie, Lady Libris, Lily, Jenny, Molly, Veronica, Emily, 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗀, 𝗪𝗃 Tuggles, Anne Rose, Alexa, Misty, Joanne, Imelda, Esther, 𝗬𝗏𝗄𝗎𝗄𝗏, Emily, Jean, Jen, Erin, Kate, Lily, Beckett, Miranda, Christine, Sadie, Kelly, Teresa, Mrs. Castaldo, Tatiana, Louisa, and Rachel. Your support is truly appreciated.